Hello, my name is Kelsey Roberts, and today I'm going to be discussing the relationship between skin cancer and tanning beds. It should be common knowledge that using tanning beds could lead to the development of aggressive skin cancer. So why do so many of us look the other way? Some use tanning beds to look a bit healthier or to possibly get some color before that special occasion. Many do not think twice about the consequences that exposure to ultraviolet radiation may come with later in life. First, a little statistics behind tanning beds. 7.8 million adult women and 1.9 million adult men in the US alone tan indoors. 52% of those start tanning before the age of 21, and almost 33% start tanning before the age of 18. When you start tanning this young, it puts you at a much higher risk of developing different forms of skin cancers, wrinkles, sunspots, and all different forms of skin damage. Ultraviolet radiation is a proven carcinogen. Carcinogens are simply cancer-causing agents. Things like cigarettes and alcohol are also considered carcinogens. Today, I'm going to be talking about the different forms of skin cancer you can develop from tanning beds, but first I want to talk a little bit behind the mechanism of cancer itself. Healthy cells in our body are strategically monitored by hundreds of regulatory genes and show density-dependent inhibition of growth. This means that our normal cells will stop replicating when there is an efficient amount of cells present. Before discussing the different forms of skin cancer, it's important to recognize what turns a healthy cell cancerous. The transformation of a normal cell into a cancerous cell is known as carcinogenesis. A cell could become cancerous if the DNA inside the cell is damaged by a carcinogen. DNA carries all of the genetic information that is vital for the production of functional proteins in the human body. Linear sequences of DNA code for specific genes. This figure here shows the linear sequence of a DNA molecule. Genes are defined as the entire DNA sequence that is necessary for the synthesis of a functional protein. Genes are highly regulated and can be expressed or shut off depending on the sequence of the DNA. Cancerous cells arise when there is a random change in the DNA sequence, resulting in a faulty protein synthesis. These random changes are known as mutations. The most common mutation seen in cancer is that of the p53 regulatory gene. The p53 gene is known as a tumor suppressor. 50% of all cancers have a p53 mutation, and one of its jobs is to detect damaged DNA. It signals it to stop replication. When this gene undergoes a mutation, it consequentially causes a change in structure, leading to a decrease or complete loss of expression and function. If this is the case, cells with damaged DNA are able to evade detection and carry on with replication. In other words, there's nothing telling the cell that it is damaged and to stop replicating. In regards to UV radiation, DNA can absorb a very broad spectrum. The UV radiation in tanning beds can easily penetrate the layers of the skin, seen here on the right, directly damaging the DNA, resulting in a mutation that could lead to skin cancer. Melanoma, squamous cell carcinoma, and basal cell carcinoma are the three most common forms of skin cancer. Although the severity of these cancer types varies, if any of them go untreated, they can become metastatic. This means the cancerous cells have the capability to spread into other tissues if not treated properly. Knowing that tanning beds can exponentially increase the risk of cancer should deter people from using them, yet in reality it seems many people believe it will never happen to them. 1 in 5 Americans will develop skin cancer by the age of 70. The first type of skin cancer that I want to talk about is squamous cell carcinoma. Squamous cells are the flat cells on the outer part of the epidermis. These cells are constantly shedding and being replaced by new cells. This cancer affects 2 out of 10 people diagnosed with skin cancer. This translates to about 1 million diagnoses per year. Squamous cell carcinoma is initiated by a mutation, although it is not the most deadly form. Studies have showed that indoor tanning beds more than double the risk of developing squamous cell carcinoma. According to the Skin Cancer Foundation, there has been a 200% increase in squamous cell carcinoma cases over the past 3 decades. Scientists are attributing this to the use of indoor tanning. The next form of skin cancer I'm going to be discussing is basal cell carcinoma. This is the most common form of skin cancer, as 8 out of 10 cases of skin cancer are reported to be of the basal cells. There are around 4.3 million cases every year in the United States alone. It's the most frequently diagnosed of all cancers, not just skin cancer. The basal cells are located near the base of the epidermis, and it's usually found in sun-exposed areas such as the face and neck. Indoor tanning has been directly linked to an increased risk of developing this cancer. A study in 2002 found that just one use in tanning bed could increase the risk by over 60%. Basal cell carcinomas can appear as sore, pink growths, or shiny bumps. This type of cancer very rarely spreads to other regions of the body, but if you don't get it treated immediately, it can actually become disfiguring. Lastly, melanoma is a tumor that arises from melanocytes. It is the most rare form of skin cancer. Melanocytes are skin cells that produce a pigmentation of the skin. The pigmentation of the skin actually acts as a natural barrier to UV radiation. Those with paler skin lack melanin and don't have as good of a defense mechanism against the harmful rays. Today, melanoma is the second most common cancer in females from ages 15 to 29, and it makes up 75% of skin cancer deaths worldwide. It has been estimated that there will be a 77% increase in melanoma cases in 2019, and approximately 10,000 people will die of this disease. I briefly want to discuss the treatments that someone can get when they're diagnosed with skin cancer. So first is excisional surgery. This is literally when a physician goes into the skin and cuts out the cancerous growth, as well as some healthy cells, just to ensure that they remove all of the cancer present. The second is Mohs surgery, which is the most efficient and the most common, which is when someone who is diagnosed with skin cancer will go in and a physician will scrape off some of the growth and examine it under a microscope to determine if it is cancerous or not. And if it is, then they will come back and they keep scraping until there's no more cancer present. Cryotherapy is a form of treatment where they use liquid nitrogen to freeze the growth off, or there's things like topical chemotherapy, which is ointments that you can put on the skin that essentially just kill all of the cells that it's put on. Many don't look at tanning beds as being very dangerous, but the reality is UV radiation went from a class 1 carcinogen to a class 2 carcinogen. That means it's much more dangerous than we used to think it was. 500,000 skincare cases are due to tanning beds every single year, and more people develop skin cancer from indoor tanning than those who develop lung cancer from smoking. A study followed 63 women who had been diagnosed with melanoma before the age of 30, and the study found that 61 out of the 63 women had previously used indoor tanning beds. Tanning beds are dangerous and have the potential to be lethal. So the next time you think about using one, ask yourself if you want to face the consequences of dealing with any of these different forms of skin cancers.